Women. My name is Abnata B, and I'm here with my co-presenters, Nanama and Susan. This show is brought to you by the kind courtesy of our sponsors, Tinatet Tomac Mixture and Vinegar and Leap Tomato Paste. Thank you to our sponsors. On this show, as usual, we'll be discussing issues that have made the headlines during the week. So today we are looking at a number of issues, 4 of them. We'll start off with the spin, where we have the spotlight on newly elected French President Emmanuel Macron. We are looking at the issues around him, how he was able to defy all odds as a young man to emerge as French president. And also we'll be drawing lessons from that. How can we have such lessons play out in Ghana? Can a young man emerge as president in Ghana, which is a dream of many young people? We'll be looking at these issues. Also, we'll take a look at the Galamsey fight and where we are at currently as a nation, particularly looking at recent developments where we have allegations of blackmails, in respect of influential persons in the society who are being said to be complicit in this illegal activity. We'll also take a look at the rising insecurities in the country. A lot of armed robberies being reported here and there, acts of vigilante groups and all. How are we going to curb this, given the recent issues about vigilante groups and many other issues? And then also, we'll take a look at the ongoing wranglings in the New Patriotic Party, the ruling party, between Chairman Bugri Nabu and Madame Oti Kujaba. What's happening there and how can this be nipped in the bud? This is the agenda for this morning's show. We'll take a break. When we come back, we begin the conversations.
Welcome back. So on the spin, we're just spinning the story around Macron. Like Abna said, he's the youngest person to emerge president in France. Is this likely to happen on our scene here in Ghana? And then also, I mean, he broke away and formed his own party, En Marche, which came out to win, you know, the election. So that's an interesting one there. Obviously, his relationship, we've dealt with that. Exactly. But now he's emerged with now congratulations to him.
Part of his
but
package.
Yes, it's all part of it. I mean, he's the youngest to come on the scene as French president, not coming from the left or the right, but coming from a central position, his own group. And that's interesting because even though we have young people in parliament, I mean, does our system support you to be able to you know, become president at such a young age in Ghana, you know?
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting thing, but clearly the Constitution, you know, gives a certain age requirements. They say life begins at 40, right? Definitely. So clearly from that. But, and again, I mean, people say, you know, 40 years, you're still young. Yeah. So we definitely need to look at that. But what happened in France is quite inspiring. Yeah. That a young man could actually emerge, not belonging to quote-unquote the establishment, to come and do what he's done, which is very remarkable. Because even in Ghana here, I mean, how from the established parties, if you like, the big parties, how many young ones are able to emerge like that, you know? So definitely, I think we'll get there. There'll come a time where definitely we could have such, you know, developments. But we do need to also recognize that there are some young men and women in our politics doing great things.
Definitely.
Yes. Yeah. So I think once you have the opportunity, just deliver. Prove yourself worthy. And, you know, so that it's not as if opportunities are given, but you're not able to take it and, you know, run with it. So,
you know, but I mean, I'm coming from a point where even in church, you have the elderly saying, I won't join a church that is younger than me. So from that perspective, for me, I feel if a young person should start a political group on his own, how much of the adults will pump or believe in his vision to follow him, to break away. Because even the independent candidates who went, looking at the results that came in the elections, it means they didn't have so much support as they could have. But I think it's because of our positioning, where we tend to think there are only two major parties, and therefore you need to belong to a particular side to make a to be able to make it to the political scene. Well, so it's high time maybe we break away from that.
I think it's the message that you have to sell, so that regardless of where you're coming from, if you have a message that is convincing enough, I think people would
buy into
buy into that, and definitely run with you.
Well, I mean, our history shows that young people have been given opportunities. In Nkrumah, they were young. I mean, Kweku Baku's father, Kofi Baku, they were young men. Maybe over the period, I think what has happened is that the military coup, deprived a certain category of politicians of their period of being in power, and they still want to be in power. So, they have come at a time when they are much older. But, I mean, the history of this country does show that young people have been given opportunities to go to the highest office. We know of even President Kufuor, he was a young minister. So there have been young people in positions of power before. With Macron, I think that age was not really much of an issue. No, I don't think the French people, they've had Napoleon Bonaparte, who is a big French hero and was younger, when he first became consul and head of state and president of Italy, etc., etc., etc. So, they've had a young person before. I think it was the vision that he presented, and also they probably didn't like the message of Le Pen. I mean, you heard the expression "down with the fascist" all the time, and they didn't want the extreme situation. And the French people are a lot more, how would I put it, cosmopolitan in their outlook, and don't want to crowd in. You even see the way that they have a lot of other nationalities that have become French citizens in certain positions. I know of a mayor in one of the French towns who was originally from DRC, Congo. So they are more also pro-European, and he was more pro-European and pro-Europe, and didn't want that closing in where Le Pen was preaching Frexit, and that the French people would leave. I think, yes, he is giving his history a maverick, if so you can put it that way, where he is not going about the trends, and he does what he wants. You saw it at 15, he single-purposely said, this is the woman that I want, and he pursued it. At 17, etc., and he went out. It takes a bold person to do that. You see him breaking away from his party to say, I'm centrist. I mean, yes, he's more socialist in left, but also pro-business, and says, I will be in the center, and, I will do some of the things. If you look at some of the promises that he made to France, and he says, look, I'm going to cut 120 public jobs. That is a bold decision to make, because you're telling people that, look, the public sector is too large, people will lose their jobs, we are making it slimmer, we are making it more efficient. And it's not a message that many politicians maybe we want to say in terms of the light of unemployment, etc., etc. So he, promised to reduce public spending, he made certain bold promises, and I think the French people want to see that.
I think that comes with the fact that he's a man, he's his own person. Right. There's nothing like the patronage system in there where you are being told what to do, what to say, because that's what we see here most of the times. And that's the good thing about breaking out. Because when you break away, you're able to stand for what you believe in and not what a certain establishment is telling you to do or to push or
because
go
you become
for.
a puppet. They pull the strings. You
but
only
they got you there.
It is also the people. The people were audacious enough to say, we will give you a chance. You don't belong to the establishment.
And that's the question
and so we as a people, are we audacious enough to say we will throw MPP, NDC away and give
go with this.
And go with that?
And who is there to emerge?
Well, I mean, you don't need a long time to emerge, as he has shown.
Sure.
You know, he formed the party in August of 2016, and that this is him now.
Elections.
So, I guess the people who will come out and vote must also understand that the political party system in itself tends to lend to some of the things that we are seeing in terms of corruption, in terms of patronage, in terms of indiscipline, you know, that the political party culture, and that you may need to get somebody who is out of the political party structure and say, this is the way we want to go, and go on a common agenda of that person.
Yeah.
Right, and then once you have that message clearly, I mean, people want change. I mean, they want a better life.
Yeah.
And if they see you as that person
Who
going
can
to
give it.
bring it, definitely they'll
Why
go with
not?
you.
Yeah.
Definitely. And so-
But a quick one, you know, he went to a school where they train civil servants and politicians. We need something like that in most of our politicians and our civil servants learn on the job.
Yes.
There isn't a specific school where you can go and train them. Our political parties have become electoral machines, not democracy schools where they are training people actually, or sending people out to train them and groom them. But they have that, and I think that is something that we need to think about and have.
But I guess even if the schools are not built, maybe we can start off by making political science a basic, you know, course for everybody, so that you have some ideology. I mean, you have some basic knowledge about it. That's if we're not able to do the big scheme of, you know, having the schools. We can start small by introducing a few topics in the, you know, teaching courses anyway. So it's been interesting. I hope you've picked up the same lessons we have, that it's capable. I mean, we can do it in Ghana. It's not far-fetched. We just need to change our ideology. We have done it in the past. Yes, Abby. We have done it in the past, and so we can do it again. It's just changing our ideology to suit the circumstances. We do wish the young people the best. Keep pushing until you reach your limit. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. A very big thank you to our sponsors, Tinated Tomac Mixture and Vanicare, as well as Leap Tomato Paste with no size. So on Big Bang 1, we're talking about Galamsey. It's a never-ending story in the light of the fact that some kingpins have been, you know, targeted and highlighted in the news. Aisha 1 is a very famous woman at that. We also know about the sexual blackmail that she's holding against some law enforcement members, as well as kings and chiefs in our country. So we want to discuss this. Abna, it's very interesting that when the sex tape issue, allegation broke out, the blackmail, for me, my thought was, if these people are committed to the country and they really want to see us move forward, I think, irrespective of what you've done, I mean, you're an adult, you went in knowing what you wanted and you got it. And unfortunately, the person you share this mutual whatever benefits with has turned her back on you and is holding you to ransom. But I think just come out, apologize to your wife before the tape leaks, and then let's hold you culpable so that we can resolve the issue. But now, you know, blackmails never end. Once she started, if indeed it's true, she has your neck tied on a noose. I mean, it will go on and on and on. There'll be no ever ending to this. And Ghana suffers just because of your mistake, as I would prefer to put it. So something has to be done. I mean, these people should be giving a leeway to come out.
Whatever those people who are on that tape are going to do, that's their cup of tea. But my concern is, if any one of them there is indeed a duty bearer who is supposed to live up to a certain expectation, all I say is shame onto that person.
But they are.
They are what?
The people, I mean, the allegation is the people who are in this sex tape
duty bearers were
duty
supposed to.
Yes.
And I'm saying shame onto them.
Definitely.
Because you were supposed to do a certain job, you know, be it a security person, be it a chief, be it a politician, whatever, you were supposed to do a certain job. The first priority is the state, the nation, and that should be your driving, you know, what drives you.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm so disappointed. I don't, for now, they're all allegations, but that's why I said, assuming what she's saying is true, that you traded the nation's interest for your few minutes, few seconds parochial interest, I find that very disappointing. And whoever is on that tape, eventually when it's brought out, I mean, the people should be, you know, they should face the consequences of their actions or inactions. Whatever they decide to do with their wives is their business, seriously.
Well, I mean, I guess, for me, I'm not sure their wives is the biggest problem, because this is a country where there are a lot of polygamous males, and society tends to shrug it off and move on. I'm not sure it's going to
is allowed within the customary marriage.
Well, when I say polygamous, not in terms of marriage, but in terms of men who have go round or have somebody on the side or whatever. So it's not a strange thing. So I'm not sure that the worry is their wives per se, or there must be something more to it. I think that all of us in fighting Galamsey, we have to realize that the plot will thicken along the line, and there'll be so many things that we will have to be fighting, and so many stories that will come out. Sex, as it is, has been used as a tool by many intelligence units. I mean, the Russian, the KGB had the most beautiful spies that were female and were supposed to use their blackmail people into giving sexual favors for secrets. So people have sold their countries for
sexual favors.
For sexual favors. It's not a new thing, and I'm sure it will continue to go on. What we ought to realize is that this fight, we're taking it for the till we get the results that we want, and it doesn't matter whose axe is God. And I that, you know, you'd better come out if you are found out. If it's not about whether you have sexual favors or not, it's about, did you do the right thing when you were, you know, if somebody was supposed to be punished at a particular time, you know, if somebody was not supposed to have a resident permit at a particular time, you know, if somebody was supposed to be arrested, and not just arrested but also charged, and you know,
charge the person, but let the person go free via equipment and all,
you know, and things like that. That we is what we're going to be interested in. We don't care about you know, your sexual
really,
but you know, the
predictions and things like that. I think that is what we ought to be fighting for, and say, okay, fine, but this particular person, did he act appropriately given the office that he had? Right. And if that person's actions, whether somebody was blackmailing, whether somebody was, we don't care. Did he act appropriately when he was supposed to? And that's what we should be looking out for.
You know, it's repeatedly said that to every lie there's an iota of truth, because in the BNI report it makes some should I say allegations, or it mentions some people based on presumptions, and it mentions the Ghana Armed Forces, it mentions some politicians and some chiefs, of which the Ochihene was mentioned.
And I have a problem with that kind of intelligence report making presumptions or allegations, because it's supposed to be an intelligence report. It should come out with the facts as they are, and also if you have an intelligence report that is laden or riddled with allegations, presumptions, I mean, I tend to be worried.
Exactly, Abby, because I was going to ask then, what was the source of information for even the BNI? You are the Bureau for National Investigation. You should have more information than we the regulars. So if you are basing your report on what you've heard or what you think, I find it very dicey. My question then is, are they also, are some of them, because it's also an allegation, yes, I'm also presuming, or you know, an allegation, is it that they also know something they're hiding, or they're massaging the facts as it is? I think they need to bring clarity to it, because they are the highest body when it comes to investigations in our country, so they should be able to tell us it is A, B, C, D, and not it may have been, because Ochihene, who they cited, has repeatedly said he himself, he is not involved, you know, and then GAF also came out to say they're not involved.
But the BNI report, did it cite Ochihene?
Yes, it cited some chiefs, yes, and I think he was captured in that particular report. So then who then really is the perpetrator of this Galamsey and San, I mean, who do we call to book? Because everyone is taking the blame off their shoulders. But I know the chiefs, they know about it.
But definitely, I mean, it's not rocket science here. Given the impudence and the audacity and the impunity with which certain people carry on with the illegal act. I mean, you don't need to look beyond, you know, anything to see that there's somebody influential or there's some people. Exactly. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gone on for so long.
Yeah, I mean, the people in the pits, they don't necessarily own the pits.
They
I mean,
don't.
and if you listen to some of the story, Aisha brings in these Chinese immigrants. They are probably poor Chinese people. They are not that rich. They are promised a job. They come here, you are come to do this particular job for a certain amount of money that, you know, and they say when these people are coming, hide, and they are given, informants give them information and they hide. And it definitely means that, you know, people have been bought all along the change to the
and some of them have police protection.
Yes.
It's
and
so
they have the
ironic.
arms, the ammunitions, you know, and you wonder who gave it to them. How come all this went without us noticing? And now it's come to a point where Galamsey has been blown out of proportion, and it seems we are attacked. You know, they keep saying Nana Doe should be careful, the president should be careful because then they won't vote, and they send out threats as if he is doing the wrong. But they are the people in the wrong position.
I think there are more people out there who are doing good than those Galamsey people. And so this threat about we won't vote for you, I mean, seriously.
No, but that's what that threat about vote. It's not even peculiar to Galamsey.
To every other thing.
No water, no votes, no that. And
demolition of Accra, whatever. No
you see,
votes.
but I mean, I will come to it again. It's given the duopoly, where you have two parties of equal.
Where's the Macron?
Thank you. You know, because if you have two parties who have of equal power, so if I should put it that,
and they have permanent basis.
Yes,
really.
permanent basis. So if it's not either me, it is you. You know, either or that. You would have situations like this, because she has probably bought across political parties, and most shrewd businessmen, shrewd criminals buy both ways. I mean, they come here, they have no loyalties. Their loyalties to the money, they are going
their interest.
Into their interest, yes, their permanent interest. And so, you know, you find that, you know, if we don't break the duopoly, we will still have all this kind of thing going.
Definitely. And I mean, we definitely have to do something about this. But hey, we'll see how far we go with that, because that requires some constitutional amendments and all. But hey, this is...
No, it doesn't. It just requires people to just vote and say we won't vote for MPP and DC.
So that's it with the discussions on Galamsey. I'm sure we can go on and on and on, but we definitely have to end it somewhere to make way for other topics on the show. We'll take it back. This is Big Bang 2 on Captured by Women. On Big Bang 2 this morning, we are looking at the heightened insecurities in some parts of the country where a number of armed robbery cases have been reported. We have with us in the studio Dr. Vladimir Intwidanso. He is the Director of Academic Affairs at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, to help us delve into this issue to see what the solutions are, if any. You're welcome, Doc.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
I'm also happy to be with you.
Great.
Great to be among women.
Good. So we're looking at this very important issue, quite a worrying one, given the incidents that we've had in recent times. Let's have your take on this. Do you see any connection with this and the current, perhaps the economic situation we have, that perhaps is drawing this, you know, is bringing this to the fore in such numbers?
Well, I think at any point in time, you could always draw a link between economic downturn and the rise of crime in the country, the rise of prostitution, of trading in narcotics, and all kinds of things that are untoward towards the well-being of the state. And so at any point in time, you could say so. Yes, the economy has been in turbulence over the past years, but armed robbery has been with us for a long time. And it looks as though we haven't had an antidote to it. In the 80s, we fought armed robbery with terrorism, some kind of terrorism, you know. You are arrested, you are shot, and that kind of thing. But these days, it's purely a question of indiscipline, a question of corruption, and a question of, yes, the economy. Many more people are not working, that's true. There's so much small arms and light weapons. With ease, we purchase them, and they are all over. And there's so much indiscipline within the security services. We have had instances where some policemen, some soldiers have been implicated in the sale of such weapons to armed robbers and that kind of thing. And so it's a motley of causes. There's no one causality to it. It's a motley of causes, and we need to set up, not give security per se to security agencies. We're all part of security. And again, I have always advocated the barracksing of policemen and of our security agency is not the correct one.
Prof, sorry to cut you. I mean, when you say that we are all part of the security, that to an extent that is true, that we are responsible for that, so you should be security conscious. But then there's the duty of the state to provide that, at least where a citizen is in need. Call the police should be able to come to your aid, but we don't have that.
Yes, to some extent, yes. You see, when a country or a state is unable to provide the necessary atmosphere for peace and tranquility, there are vacuums, and these vacuums are filled quickly by miscreants. You know, it can be terrorists, it can be any, if you go to Lebanon, Hezbollah, for example, it's more powerful than the government. Boko Haram started the same way. They became powerful in the northeastern part of Nigeria. So it is that the use of vigilantes and the use of armed robbers, macho men and that kind of thing, have become the order of the day. But be it as it may, when I say that security is everybody's concern, it means between you and the police, between you and the security officer, there is some kind of connection, which you don't have. I agree with you. You know, people themselves, one, are not security conscious because they have not been taught what security is all about. We live with these miscreants, but we are unable to report them because there's no incentive to report. Number two, he may be the breadwinner. Number three, he's linked maybe to the security agencies, one way or the other. So all these things, yes, the state must provide, but the people, the governed, must also provide the state with the tools to be able to provide. That's what is done in every place.
Well, sir, you do mention vigilantism, so we can't run away from that.
Right.
I mean, in these times, there's been an uproar. It's not that these groups have never been there; they've always been there. But now we see a trend where they seem to be migrating from being vigilantes to being militants. How best, as a country, can we deal with this and bring it to, a halt immediately?
We need to bring it to a halt very immediately, my dear. The point is, there's those of us in the field studying the history and trajectory of most of these. I mentioned Boko Haram.
Yes.
In 2002, when it was formed, 2003, a lot of the MPs in the northern part of Nigeria used them as their vigilante groups for whatever it is. They went to the mosques and whatnot, give a lot of goodies out, and they promised them of Islamism and that kind of thing, not necessarily jihad. All of a sudden, these MPs became beholden to these groups. And on and on and on, here we have them. So I have been at the forefront of the crusade against vigilantism in Ghana. And I remember I used to have even a program on GTV. We were doing well until we were stopped. But I tell you, these so-called Bamba boys, Azoka boys and whatnot will grow to become something in the future. Already.
Yes.
The previous government had a problem dealing with them because they were beholden to them.
Right.
Exactly.
This government is having a problem also.
Exactly.
So gradually, these are vacuums being filled by these miscreants.
So clearly, then it means they need to be made irrelevant.
Yes.
It
Obviously.
means they are relevant, giving
in a certain
So we need to deal with that thing, which is the inadequacies in our security.
System. Inadequacy, not in the security, yes, the security, but the system per se.
Right.
It's a systemic problem.
Right.
Where the politicians feel they need them in order to win power. And in our system, where you have a zero-sum game kind of system, where it is us versus them, where the end justifies the means.
Right.
So it's a non-system. And until we build a system that can take care of them, because then the rule of law will apply.
Will work.
And then institutions of state will not work at the beck and call of the incumbent. They will work as per the remit of the Constitution.
Right.
Until we reach that point, I tell you these, and there are 15 of them in Ghana. 15 of them in Ghana today.
Okay. you talked about the barracks thing, and I would
Yes.
want you to quickly say, because the barracks thing is because for easy deployment.
Yes.
But, you know, the spike in, you know, insecurity or armed robbery, etc., isn't it part of a trend when usually there's a new government, there is a spike?
Yes.
And to test the limits and see,
Yes,
you know.
they were used to gain power. You've come. I remember even very well during Rawlings' time, they came out, they called themselves foot soldiers those days. And they said, JJ, do something before you die. And the government was beholden to them. When JJ was off, he was telling the next NDC government that the people are hungry. These are foot soldiers. So a situation was created where they should be irrelevant. Other than that, they will always kind of demand because they are not working.
Yeah,
To the extent that,
yeah,
to the extent that at times they force governments to tell them where they want to work. They want to work in the security services,
Regional coordinating
SEPs, what do you call it,
Immigration.
immigration, the army. A lot of them say the army, the army.
Yeah, but not necessarily the vigilantism I'm talking about. In terms of crime per se,
yes.
you know, that if there's a change of government, there usually is a spike in crime,
yes.
you know.
That is a good observation because they've been used. The battle is over. They are redundant. They got to work because as they were used during the electioneering campaign and that they know the nooks and crannies of how to use crime to win an election. So obviously, now they would want to perpetrate their own trade with that kind of
But
trade
Prof,
they
how
have learned.
certain are you that these armed robbers perpetrating these crimes are necessarily connected to these vigilante groups?
Not necessarily, but a lot of them. I have no research kind of this thing to say that they are connected.
Right.
But there is the possibility, always, that some of them are connected. Besides, there are hardened criminals. The Atais and the other guy who just ran away quite recently again. And I'm mad. That guy from the north.
Starts with a K, I forgot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Combien. These are hardened criminals, very hardened, who are connected one way or the other to the security agents. You know, so yes, some of them have that as their trade. Some of them, when the trade is not going and they have a chance to be part of the vigilante groups, will be part of the vigilante groups, especially when they have some little connection to a politician.
Very well. But Prof, I mean, we do need to recognize and award the security personnel when they do good. And I hear there's the OSPA, OSPA that's
OSPA,
coming up.
that's
Can you
right.
tell us just a little about it?
Well, OSPA is the outstanding award for the special security personnel, which is all over the world,
Right.
especially in Britain, Germany, France. It's also in Norway, very strongly in Norway, in Australia. And we are bringing a chapter to Ghana.
Okay.
It intends rewarding personalities in security, in research, in having done something to ensure national security and personal security for institutions whose work need to be rewarded. In that sense, it's not just reward for reward's sake. We try to create awareness about security.
Right.
Unfortunately, in our part of the world, security is anything. I mean, even throwing litter around, people don't know it has security implications. You know, so this kind of award will bring the awareness. So we'll be watching who does what and why, and we'll be that way helping individuals and state institutions who are in security to work and work better.
But the scope seems very broad. How
Yes.
would you identify individuals or, you know, people in this
criteria
category?
involved.
Yes.
Yes, we'll
So
have
it's
our
a
own
award,
criteria, which I'm not going to tell now because we are only going to launch it on Friday. And the first award, Professor Gillis will be coming from Britain. The first awards will be in January 2018.
Okay.
What we're going to do is to allow a committee to vet nominees, and the nominations will come from the various institutions. Like the police will say this is the best worker
person. Okay.
for 2017.
Right.
And you give us what he has done. And we checklist against
Your
our
criteria.
criteria. And then
Okay,
we'll
but
say
like
that,
you said,
And the criteria you're
it
keeping
doesn't.
close to your chest.
oh, it will come. I just don't want to whet the appetite of people and then
Right.
they say,
But like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a uniformed person.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. It's security. You know,
So-
that young man who was able to use his taxi cab to
To
knock
help,
somebody
right.
down. That's,
Okay.
He's so much security conscious.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
so much. You know, we will be walking by road and whatnot. There are some things that have been put in places and nobody pays attention. There was a time I was teaching at the GAFC, and there was this hotel bomb scare way back in the 80s. And so we use it in teaching. And if you look at the picture, even policemen were lurking, stretching their neck to look, see where the bomb was. They are not security conscious. When there was this plane crash in Accra quite recently, you know, our officers, some of the colonels and one general, they were there first. They saw some leakage, and they were driving the policemen away. They were really asking them, get out, get back. And the crowd, they were shouting hoarse. Why? They've seen some security threat.
Right.
And the policemen were fighting them. Finally, they had called the fire service to come and form the plane first. The security people themselves were wanting to see the plane and who is inside and whatnot. Don't we see that when ordinary cars get accidents and that kind of
People
Like
just-
recently, what happened in
Takoradi.
Takoradi,
Yeah.
the explosion.
Exactly.
People actually is going into video
Exactly.
just so they have something to put out on social media.
Social media.
It's
You know,
just
but
we need to be
I was
security.
going, I was going to say that the fact that you are looking out for anybody who is security conscious, I hope there's no flooding of WhatsApp images and shooting, videos when these
No, absolutely
things
not.
are happening.
Absolutely
because
not.
right now it seems to be the trend where people just want to capture it for whatever.
be the first to
alt-
post.
That's true.
But you put yourself in danger as well.
We what we're going to do, we'll have the educational part also. So between now and January, when we have the first awards, you'll see a lot of programs showing what we mean by what we want.
Very well.
And that will help all of us. It could be a media man or woman who has shown that kind of,
Right.
that
Security
security.
Consciousness.
Exactly.
Very
We
well.
hope
But
we'll be there to win.
Yes, yes, definitely. But we can't let you go without raising this issue. There's this seeming gradual privatization of the police service,
Right.
which is quite worrying because we're talking about calling the police to help you when you're in need. You don't get that. But it seems that in certain areas, they have this assistance because they are seen to be contributing to the welfare of the police in their neighborhoods or their communities, which for me is quite worrying. I don't know if you share this, but
Well, it's
and
quite
what could
worrying.
be done?
It's quite worrying.
Because
but-
the police is to be there for everybody.
Sure. Unfortunately, we have police per capita.
Yes.
It's less.
Wow.
For one policeman to about 500 people, we have more than one policeman to about 1,500. But what you are describing is a necessary evil, and again, it is inevitable. In several places, you hire the police to do some work for you, and then you help the police. But it's unfortunate that whilst we have the numbers less, most of them are being pushed into those privatizations that you're talking about. But we'll get to a point where there is a possibility that several institutions will have their own police. In the school where I schooled in the US, for example, we had our school police, what we call in Legon, the Legon Guards. It's a full police with a full police station. And they are linked to the main police. They are paid by the school and that kind of thing. We'll get there. But we haven't gotten there. And the police, they are...
So until we get there,
Making do.
the status quo,
Yes.
Which is that the police is there for everybody,
For everybody.
should prevail.
It
and
should
shouldn't
prevail.
be.
It should prevail.
Yeah.
But I'm
anyways, Prof, we need to wrap it up.
Okay, sure.
Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for the show. I mean, for this
but
segment.
Friday,
but
I'm expecting you all to be at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College at the launch.
we'll be there.
Right.
We'll be there. So viewers, we'll take a break. When we come back, we go on to other topics.
Bring back 3. We're talking about the internal wranglings or the tiff that went on earlier this week and the ending of last week between Otiko Jaba and Bugri Nabo. Internal party wranglings are nothing new. I mean, it's a family, and they will definitely have internal family wranglings. But it's a cause for concern, definitely, and especially if it is a ruling party. We have a soundbite from the acting general secretary of the MPP. He granted an interview to TV3 on Wednesday. Can we have take a listen?
We have a National Council meeting today. It's not part of the agenda, but obviously with such an important thing happening, it may pop up at the meeting. Then after that, whatever decision the party, because National Council is the second highest decision-making body of the party apart from the annual delegates conference. So its decision, it can even decide that certain things should be done, you understand? And so let us restrict that to them. They have the powers and the mandate to deal with those aspects. I've told you the position of the party and how regrettable we think it is for us, especially where our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had taken a tour of our sub-region, our close neighbors, and the kind of interaction and goodwill that he brought along. This has really made it impossible for even the Ghanaian people, the ordinary person, the ordinary trader who is interested in seeing the kind of agreement and arrangement that the president had with his neighboring presidents, and to ease their trade and all that, have been buried, and you are also not interested. And I think that it is important that after a major decision has been taken, you know what the party's position really is.
Well, that was the acting general secretary of the MPP. Well, he said it was a regrettable, definitely was a regrettable incident because it snowballed into accusations bordering on criminality, you know, and I think that should not have happened, you know, at all. But internal party wranglings, I can assure you, can get extremely vicious, and for me, it is not surprising.
The disciplinary structures are there to call such people to book. I mean, if indeed what they've done is in breach of any, you know, rules of the party, then definitely they would need to be, you know, brought to book accordingly. But indeed, it's a very disturbing. It's very shameful, really, that you trade such allegations back and forth. And these are they're top on the hierarchy of the party. I mean, you are looking at the National Women's Organizer, who doubles as the Minister of Gender. I mean, it's just not cool, really. It's just not cool. And this being diplomatic about it, seriously.
Yeah. But it comes to the core of a certain issue where, you know, certain positions ought not to be political in terms of food, what do you call it? Because what was the quarrel about? That she had come into and was choosing, you know, and the regional chairman thought that was his preserve. How can a program that falls under a ministry, and the minister goes funded by the taxpayers' money, and the minister goes there to work on that program, and you say, I'm the political head in this region, and so you didn't come and tell me and go ahead and disrupt. I mean, I think that if, you know, we are able to separate our party politics from our governance or from government, we won't have some of these things going on.
Exactly. I definitely agree. I mean, looking at it from hindsight, I don't know them personally or anything, but I think there's a feud that has been long-standing between the two.
It's been simmering.
Because, yes, definitely. You can tell certain things were blown out of proportion, because I feel even if the Honorable Chair Bugri Nabu had you know, recourse to really be upset with what the minister was doing, this definitely wouldn't be the channel.
He didn't have any
even if
I'm trying to
even if he did, I think this was storming into with followers was not the way to go about it. After all, you're of the same party. If you're in opposition, then someone will say you have a fight, but you're of the, you could easily call and say, sweetheart, whatever. I mean, I was going to say sweetheart, but definitely this is not a sweetheart issue. You can say, I think you should have done A, B, C, D, and let it go, rather than storm and disrupt the meeting. And rightly so, like Susan said, it's not his prerogative to choose who should be the coordinator for this food program. It just blew things out of proportion. Like the General Secretary said, it's taking, you know, focus over other things that, yes, should help in our governance, like the president coming back, telling us what policies he plans to implement to help the nation move forward and all that. I think this is something that if they meet, they will definitely talk about, and we'll also, once we get to know whatever they plan to do, they should let it go, and it shouldn't repeat itself. We don't want such things taking over the stage.
Yes. Given in politics, if I may be a national chairman and I'm going into a region, I would definitely
protocol-wise,
I would tell the regional chairman there, because that's his mini kingdom that he's coming. Even, you know, if it's a private business, I can choose not to. If it's, but we know that the picking of the coordinatorship thing as much as it is public business, and Bugri Nabu had absolutely no right to it, I guess maybe the courtesies should have. That's where I would agree with you. There may have been bad blood already. Yes. Given that, he had absolutely no right to go and disrupt the meeting, and there ought to be party channels to air grievances. However, the temperament of our minister also needs to be talked about, because when you are in a certain position, there are instances where silence is important. It's important, and there are certain things that you say, I will deal with it in a different manner, and I will not deal with it publicly.
You choose your fights.
You choose your fights, which you would do publicly, because you are in a certain position. And so it has given the opposition the opportunity to say, we told you her temperament is not the right kind of temperament for the position, and they may probably be right.
And
you know,
yes,
so it's something. Is not.
But you see, this also brings in, I don't know if it's just me and how I'm looking at it, but it brings in the question about two people have done something here, a man and a woman, and it seems to me that the woman is being picked on here. But don't forget that Mr. Bugri Nabu said something about the minister, which for me was, I think, below the belt, talking about her marriage or whatever. I thought that was needless.
That was foolish.
That was needless.
I mean, let's call it out. That was foolish.
Totally.
And totally. No, but yes, it may be because between a man and a woman, and that is always there. But I think it's also between the temperament.
Sure.
Because if she had kept quiet and kept her own counsel and said, look, I will deal with this man in a different, it probably would not have ballooned to where it did. You get it. So it's that aspect of it. You take the woman aspect of it. It may be true that if she had been a man, he probably would not have acted the way that he did. That one, I can imagine that may be true. You know, he would have thought twice about going to disrupt, or how to disrupt it, or etc. etc. But I'm talking about the response. You know, they always say that sometimes the response, what does the Bible say? A soft word may turn away harsh. You know, anger or something like that.
A fool, when he keeps quiet, may even be considered a wise person.
No, because
silence is golden.
Who is ignorant enough to say that she's married to a doctor and doesn't call herself Dr. Mrs. you understand? I mean, doesn't call herself Dr. Mrs. Seriously, I mean, such a person ought
you don't get down and dirty with such a person. You just let it go.
And treated with contempt. You get it. But in responding, then it gave him the power to say things he ought not to have said.
But you know,
I think the police also ought to
exactly. I was going to say that because there are criminal implications to the allegations he made, where she has a hand in the death of the late what's his name again? The man, I mean, the MPP Upper East, who died. He has a hand in it and all that. And it's something that, aside MPP, when we put everything aside, we have to investigate, because then you're putting her in the setting of, you know, right? Yes, definitely. I know it's in court, but you put that setting in, and it's not something that we should deal with lightly, because if indeed she has a hand in it, then it has to be investigated rightly, you know. And so it's worrying. It's very worrying.
Oh, but we hear that a similar thing happened when Adams Muhammad died. That is it Mr. Foucault? Something similar happened. So this is.
It seems to be something.
A sequel or something?
No, but I'm telling you, it's common with a party chairman. I mean, let's say regional chairman, and where they all their handles
claim this is my turf.
This is how you did it. No, that's one. I can assure you, it is nothing new. And if you don't want the grief that goes with it, it is just important to do those formalities and those courtesies, so that it doesn't blow out. I think that they don't cost much. But you unless see, you actually want to go out of your way to needle them, because it does needle them.
But you see, yes, I mean, sometimes you realize that the cost of not doing it is greater than, you know, if you had actually done it. But like you're saying, it's for us to, you know, draw the line between politics in terms of our party vehicles that gets us into power and the business of governance. Because I mean, there's a break. Truly, there's a break. You don't come in, impose yourself on us and say things. I mean, I don't think
we are not seeing it.
We are not, definitely not. But maybe eventually we will get there.
We have to get there, where government is government and party is party, and you know, You know, the governing party doesn't think the country belongs to them. The winner takes all situation brings that about, where the winner says that, well, I have won, so everything must be mine. I'm taking over food, school feeding program. I'm taking over WCs. I'm taking over latrines. I'm taking over, you know, all sorts of, you know. I mean, if they could come and take over your house WC, they'll probably come and do that. You know, that, I mean, the toilet politics that we practice
we should do away with that.
Comes out of the winner takes all.
Definitely. I mean, we cannot lament about this enough, because on all levels it was inappropriate, and it's something that could have been avoided. You know, like you're saying, keeping your cool in certain situations is the best, and I think
it definitely
well,
will
maybe
be the best.
I
guess
these
moving
are all
forward,
lessons.
pick,
we are learning. I think we're all learning.
We're learning.
We're all learning.
And definitely, I hope you know, Miss Otiko Jaba does pick some lesson from this, because again,
well, she's apologized, which is a good thing.
Yes, she has. She has apologized, but I don't think we want it to be a situation where it happens and then you render apologies and it happens again. So at least as you apologize, you should pick a lesson.
Abu apologized?
As of now, we haven't heard any apologies.
Shouldn't he?
So he definitely
he should.
will. Yes. I hope he will. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we bring a wrap to the show because let's just the question. I think we're all just getting interested in it and moving on to wrap up. But he has apologized. Right. Honorable Chairman Bugrin Abu has apologized to Honorable Otiko Jaba for the words he uttered during their discourse. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, we bring a wrap to our interesting show. So from the bottom, we just discussed the internal wranglings in MPP. We do know that internal wranglings are things that are common, but we hope they put a stop to it so that we can concentrate on governing the nation to a greater pinnacle. And also we talked about the insecurity or increasing insecurity in Ghana in general. We touched on vigilantism, and that was done with Dr. Vladimir Intridanso. We thank him again. Also, we touched on Galamsey. Are we winning the fight? We do know some kingpins have been arrested. We do know some blackmails are being meted out, and also the involvement of chiefs and kings and politicians. We touched on that. We do hope that these perpetrators are brought to book, irrespective of their level. We are all Ghanaians. We all want to see Ghana clean, Ghana safe, the environments that will sustain generations to come. And so we will not stop talking about it. And then finally, we asked a few questions about Macron's government, and Macron being someone who's young, who broke away from a party to form his own and has won the elections. Is that possible in Ghana? We have history that says it is possible. And so we hope to encourage the young ones to push, and it will be possible that in a near future, maybe 10, 20 years to come, Ghana will have a young president to govern us again. We have been proudly sponsored by Grand Rice Company Limited, producers of Lee tomato paste with no size, tomato paste that's good for all kinds of dishes. Also, we've been sponsored by Tinated Herbal Mixture, producers of Tinated Tomac Mixture and Venike. I'm Nanama, and I've done this with Abna and Susan. We'll come same time next week. Do stay with us. Goodbye.